Well, hey, everyone. It is Wednesday, and that means it's Wine Wednesday here in the organizing lounge. Let me get a little bit better situated here. I hope you all are having a wonderful, fabulous Wednesday. Need to make sure that I'm connected with you. I am trying something new out this evening, and it looks as though it is working. So, yay. Alrighty. Let's see. I also need to see if I can figure out where your comments are. Here is the chat. Okay. Okay. So, let's see. I'm going to. Hey, everybody. Sorry. I'm gonna probably start over in just a second. I want to put this link in the chat. If you put your name in this, if you give Restream, well, it's not going to work. Never mind. If you give Restream your name, it will tell me who you are. Hello. Hey, Rosita. Hi, Trish. Okay, I can still see over here. So that's all good. All right. So let me try this again. It is Wednesday, and that means it's Wine Wednesday here in the Organizing Lounge. Welcome. I hope you are having a wonderful evening, day, morning, wherever and whenever you are watching this. If you are here live, thank you for being here. My name is Melinda Wieland. I am an organizer here in Austin, Texas, and I help overwhelmed online entrepreneurs get them organized and a whole lot of other stuff: digital organization, physical organization, productivity, all kinds of things. And I created the Organizing Lounge to share all of that with you, and also to have Wine Wednesday, which is to do two of my favorite things: talk about organizing and having a little wine with my friends. Alrighty. So if you are new to the group, welcome. And if you've been here for a while, welcome. Hey, Gina. Hey, Christine. All right. So tonight we are talking all about how your environment can make or break your success. Now, I was directing this toward those who are working, but when you think about it, everybody's working no matter what you're doing, right? And this doesn't mean that you have to have an online business, or you have to have a business, because your success can mean anything. It can be your success to whatever goal you're trying to reach. It could be your success of having a happy family, or being able to, have a happy life, or being able to be more productive in your everyday or in your business. Okay. So this is how your environment can make or break your success in anything that you're trying to do. Okay. So how can your environment make or break your success? Let me count the ways, right? There's all kinds of ways that your environment can really, really affect how you do things, which affects the outcome, which is your success in what we are talking about tonight, right? So I want to make sure that this new program, I have to make sure I can see all the comments. All right. So first, I want to point out that when I say environment, and I'm getting very physical with my hands, I'm going to move my wine. When I talk about environment, I don't just mean your physical environment, such as your desk or your office or your house, right? That is your environment. That is where you are at when you are doing whatever you're trying to be successful at, right? But there are other types of environment that I want you to keep in mind. So you have your physical and emotional self environment, right? So you have what's going on in your head, what's going in your body, all of that kind of thing. That contributes, and I've talked about this before. And then also there's your relationship environment, your relationship / social environment. So this could be If you are having a fight with a friend, that can affect your success of reaching your goal. If you are fighting with your partner all of the time, or if you are yelling at your kids all the time, or if there are struggles happening in your relationships or your social environment, that will make or break your success, right? So I'm not just talking about the stuff here. As you all know, I'm very, very passionate about pointing out that it's not all about the stuff all of the time, even though it seems to stem from there. But there's a whole lot of stuff going on in here and in here. And so that's stuff we have to think about as well. So when we're talking about environment tonight, how your environment can make or break your success, I'm talking about all of the environment around you, your feelings, your body, your space, your people, all that kind of stuff. And even the environment outside, when it's gloomy outside, sometimes people get really down. I mean, there's even I don't know what you want to call it. Is it considered a disorder? I don't want to label it wrong, but there, when somebody is in an area where it's cloudy all the time or the sun doesn't come out, they just feel really down and depressed. And it's because of the environment outside, right? So when it's stormy outside, you feel maybe a little bit more like you don't want to do anything than when it's sunny and nice outside, right? So all kinds of areas in your environment is what we're talking about. Okay, so let's look at the physical environment. We all know that the physical stuff makes us go crazy, right? So when you sit down at your desk each day, what are you looking at? Or better yet, as you walk into your work area, what do you see? So you may be working at your dining table. You may be working on your bed. You may be working at a desk in your home office. You may be going to an office. You may be spread out on the coffee table with all of the bills you're paying. Whatever it is, wherever you sit down to work each day, what are you looking at? I want to have you guys, I want you to think about this stuff tonight as I'm talking about it. So what are you looking at, and what do you see when you go to work each day, when you go to do the thing that you want to be successful at? What do you automatically think of when I say clutter, right? We think about all the stuff. And what are the feelings that come up when you see all the stuff, right? So you're sitting at the table and there's stuff everywhere. Your kids have stuff there, your partner has stuff there. But you carved out a little spot and you're going to work, and you know that you're going to put your dinner plate right on top of your laptop or whatever it is, right? Or you're working in your bedroom, and your bedroom's a disaster and your house is a mess, but you're on your bed and you're working. So just think about what you're looking at and what you see when you're in that area, and how does that make you feel? I ask you all every time I'm on here almost how things make you feel, what comes up. There's frustration, there's overwhelm, there's anxiety, there's anger, there's making you want to pull out your hair, there's, just making you want to just sigh. There's, you should yourself. There's all the things that come from all the stuff, right? There's all these feelings. But how do those feelings affect what you do during the day, right? So if you have all of this stuff everywhere, that can affect your emotional state. And if you are in a low emotional state for a long time, that can seriously affect your physical state, right? Your emotional and physical self environment. If you have depression, for example, that can dramatically decrease your physical environment because you don't feel like doing anything. Therefore, your body doesn't do anything, right? And then when you start having all of these feelings and all of this stuff happening to your body, then what does that do with your actions? You don't do anything, therefore you're not productive. You're not reaching your goals. You're not making money. You're not getting the house cleaned. You're not doing all of these things, right? So you've got your and in with that emotional and physical stuff, remember there's all of the relationship stuff too, right? So you've got your stuff, and then you have your stuff, and then it prevents you from doing the stuff, right? Let's see how many times I can say stuff this evening. All right, I just want to make sure that I see everyone who's here still. All right. Okay, so you can see how one thing can lead to another thing, can lead to another thing. And it could be where your relationships environments aren't all that great, and that makes you feel a certain way. And then your physical environment gets all crazy. It could go the other way, it could go in any of the ways. They all can affect the other, right? You probably have heard me talk about CTFAR. If you haven't, it is all about circumstances cause our thoughts, cause our feelings, cause our actions, cause our results. Okay. So the whole point of me bringing this up is that how we feel cause what we do, and then that causes the outcome. So if we feel angry, upset, frustrated, sad, depressed, all of those things, we are going to do things differently than if we are happy. And those things are going to give us results that we don't necessarily want. And so we're constantly trying to figure out, how can we be more productive? How can I save more time? How can I do this? How can I be like this organized person? But really, it could be your feelings. It could be that you're feeling, trapped in your relationship. It could be that you're feeling, that you've been sick for so long that you are just down and sad and tired of being sick. That, I'm kind of leaning toward the sad kind of stuff, but those are the things that can really, really affect us. If you are angry at somebody that you're working with, that's going to cause you to think about that all of the time. And that's going to distract you and keep you away from your productivity. So sometimes it isn't always necessarily about your systems and what you have in place, because you could have the best systems and you could have things really working for you. But then when your mood goes south, then other things go south too. And so you have to, that's why I'm always pointing out like what's going on in your head, what's going on in your life, what's going on in your body. That all really, really plays into organization as a whole, right? The whole holistic organization. Another thing that you want to think about is visually you get distracted, right? So something that I just said made me think about that. So when you are, like I said, if you are angry at somebody that you're working with, it can make you think about that. So when you've got all your physical clutter laying everywhere, it's very distracting visually. You automatically know that, right? But we don't always think about that. So if you're looking at your computer, but you've got all of these, these things laying around, that's just the stuff that I can grab this second. But if you have all these papers and, I have socks on my desk. If you have all of these things laying around, it can really be distracting, right? And that distraction keeps your brain from doing the thing. And when you're not doing the thing, you're not being successful. You're not being productive. You're not getting to where you want to go. And distractions also cause procrastination. So if you are working in your home and you've got your notifications going off and you've got stuff all over your desk and you are arguing with your kids all the time and you're angry at somebody at work, that stuff is going to distract you. And also, if, with the mess, if I go back to just the mess on your desk, you could start procrastinating because you don't want to be doing this hard thing that you're doing. You don't want to keep doing whatever it is. And so you just start organizing your desk drawer because there's so much stuff in there. You couldn't find a pen. And so then you just start making a mess and you want to just organize that. So you're procrastinating, you're procrastinating or organizing, right? And that is keeping you from getting something done. Okay. So you're being distracted, and that distraction drives you off into something else. Like when you go to Facebook and you go down the rabbit hole, those are distractions, right? Okay. Just check in. Good. Still on. Okay, where am I? I want to make sure that I'm talking about everything that I have down here. Okay, so without going all over it again, You now know your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, right? All of this stuff that you're surrounded by, your body, your relationships, it really can affect what you do, your outcome, your goals. Because, when I talk about how to organize, I start with, let's make a plan. Let's figure out what you're going to do. What's your goal? What do you want it to be? And if you are trying to get to that, whatever you want it to be, you're not going to get that if you've got all of this other stuff. So how can you overcome this? What is something that you can do to overcome it? Well, so identify your environments. What's going on with where you're working? Are you working on your bed and does that make you angry? If you are working on your bed because there's absolutely no other place in your house to work, because there's just, you have to take care of this one thing in order to take care of the other thing, you know, acknowledge that and be aware of it and make note of it. Okay, so identify your environments. Where are you working? How does it look? How does it make you feel? How is it affecting how you take care of yourself? If you're sitting in the recliner all the time with your laptop, I do that a lot. When you're sitting in the recliner with your laptop, that makes you want to just stay in your pajama bottoms all day. If you're sitting at a desk, you might want to not be in your pajama bottoms all day, although that doesn't necessarily happen, but it changes the environment, right? Which can make you feel a little bit different. So how does where you're at, how does it look? How does it make you feel? What is it doing to make you not take care of yourself, or what is it doing to have you take care of yourself the way you are? Is it helping or hurting your family dynamic, right? So really sit and think about that. Think about your distractions. I've talked about distractions before. Think about your distractions, everything that's happening in your environment. What are you looking at? How's it look? All this stuff. And then make a list. Really, write it down on paper. What is it that you like about your environment? What is it that you don't like about your environment? See if you can come up with ways to modify it. So if you are sitting on your bed to work and you acknowledge and now are aware that you're super frustrated about that because it makes you anxious to be in there, because the only reason why you're on the bed is because everything else is a mess, then a way to modify that would be to focus on the room, getting it cleaned up so that distraction and that environment is different. Or to go into that guest room that's full of stuff and make a path and clear off the desk and, modify your location if that's something that you can do. You can use CTFAR like I talked about. Let's see. Hey Tammy, how are you? Hashtag procrastinating. I'm just now seeing that. Yes, it says. You can use CTFAR, like I talked about. So I have a whole training on this in the lab. There is a Wine Wednesday episode about CTFAR, and I might talk about it just a little too much, I know. But for those of you that have not heard of it or that don't really know too much about it, it's you take your circumstance, which is you can't question the circumstance, right? I'm sitting at my desk, period. I'm sitting here. You can't argue with that. I'm not standing up. You can't say, yeah, well, you're kneeling. No, I'm sitting, right? The circumstance is a fact and there's no changing it. Your thought goes around that circumstance. So we can think whatever we want, whether we don't think so or not, we can think whatever we want. And those thoughts, I can say, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable sitting. Or I can think, oh, I need to just move when I'm sitting to be more comfortable. See how those are two different things, right? So you can think all different ways, and those thoughts cause your feelings actions, results. So you take one piece of that, whatever it is that you think that you can modify. You can't modify the circumstance, right? You can't stop it from raining. You can't stop the fact that you don't have a dedicated office in your house or whatever it is that you can't change, but you can change your thinking around it. And if you are thinking a certain way and you just can't stop being angry or frustrated, what it, if and those are feelings, pardon me, I said the wrong word. If you are feeling a certain way and you can't stop being mad or angry or whatever, what is it that's causing you to feel that way? And it's probably what you're thinking. How can you change that thought? Or if you're not getting the result that you want, work backwards. What am I not doing to keep me from this? Okay, I'm not doing this. Well, what am I feeling that's making that happen? And then you work backwards so that you can try to modify your result. Okay. Another thing that you can do is just select something on your list and work on it. Just one thing, right? Just one little thing. Select something on that whole list that you made of things that you can do to modify your environment. Maybe it's, you know, communicating with your partner about throwing stuff on the table. That could be the thing that you work on for a month, right? But you are concentrating on one thing and you're concentrating on that one modification. So that's something that you can do. Just think of one thing and work on that one thing, because working on that one thing is going to get you more than not working on the one thing. And also you can start with something little. So if you have to carve that pathway to a more peaceful place to work, start with something small. Okay, start with just the floor, or start with the recycling, or start with, just a little corner or something. Start in a little spot. And if it's not space, start with a little self-care. If it's something that you are recognizing with the emotional, physical environment, maybe it's you really, really, really need to sleep more in order to help your result of success. Okay. So maybe sleep is that one little thing, that you can start with. Let's just work on sleep. Okay. And it could be where you are struggling with that for a long time and you actually need to figure out why you are not sleeping. And then that can lead to all kinds of stuff, right? It could lead to something, it could lead to a disorder or a disease. It could lead to, you're going to counseling because of a relationship, right? There's all kinds of stuff. So when you make these lists and you're really, really thinking about all of it and you become aware, then that is going to very much help. Okay. So that's pretty much what I have for you this evening. Let's see. Oh, hey, Mary Fran, how are you? Yeah, definitely catch the replay because I'm getting ready to be finished. But tonight we talked all about how your environment can make or break your success. And we talked about environment itself. It's not just the room that you're sitting in, it's your physical and emotional self environment and your relationship social environment, right? And it could be, well, physical environment is like the room you're sitting in, the weather outside, that kind of stuff, but it's everything. So what's going on in here, what's going on with your people, and what's going on with your space. So think of all of your environment and think of how that affects the way that you are doing things. Think of all the ways that you're feeling, or all the things that you're thinking, and all of the things that you're not doing that you want to do. Um, One of my wonderful, beautiful organizing friends and colleagues of mine, we were talking one day about getting in shape. And she had talked to another friend of ours and she was saying, "Oh, my arms are so flabby. I can't stand them." And the other gal looked at her and she said, "Well, work on it." And so when somebody says something like that to you, it's like, well, it's easy for you to say to just work on my arms. But when you're looking at it from another point of view, It's as simple as that, right? Just work on it. So that's why I'm saying make a list of things and really sit with it and try to pinpoint something that you can modify and work through that CTFAR, because it can really, really help you think about, okay, I'm not getting this done because every time I sit down to do this, I'm procrastinating. Every time I'm procrastinating. And then that makes me feel like crap. And then I procrastinate more. And then I'm still not getting this. And so if you have that awareness, you can try to work on that procrastination. And that, is a whole thing. But I've been listening to podcasts and reading books and reading blog articles and listening to YouTube videos and everything about procrastination. I am a recovering procrastinator, as most of you know. And so I have a lot of tools that I use, and you'll need to find those too. That's something that, that's one thing, if that's one of your things to work on. So that's just an example, right? So that's everything that we were talking about tonight for those of you that just came. And that's all I have for you for this evening. Remember, make a list, go through all the things and think about where you're working. How does it look? How does it make you feel? What is it that you're not getting done? Okay. And try to get some awareness around all of that that's happening, and see if you can't modify something, see if you can't start to work on just one little tiny thing. The simplicity of just work on it, right? Yeah. Your arms are flabby. Go work on it, right? And it's really hard. It's hard for me to sit and tell a client, well, you have to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to get done, because it's not that easy, right? What's keeping you from doing it? What's keeping you from working on your arms? Is it the fact that you've been sick for 6 months or for 3 months, and you haven't been able to fix it, and now you are? Or, there's all the kinds of things, right? But just having that awareness and making it as simple as just that, right? Picking something off of your list of awareness items. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that all of you have something, whether it's wine or tea or hot chocolate or vodka or water or whatever it is, and you're enjoying your evening or morning or afternoon. Yes, Mary Fran. Mary Fran says, I see the 5 whys in my future. Thank you for bringing that up. She knows about it because we talk about that in the lab, and we've talked about that in Ready, Set, Organize, right? If you use the 5 whys, why is this happening? Well, why is that happening? Well, why is that happening? It can really, really help you drill down deep, right? And I use that as an example in the lab and in Ready, Set, Organize, about really trying to figure out where to start on something. Ask yourself, why is it like this? Why is it like this? Why is it like this? And that can be used on anything. So perfect, Mary Fran. Thank you very much for bringing that up, because that needed to be on the list. So definitely, definitely use the 5 why exercise to help you when you make your list. And you are most certainly welcome, Rosita. Yay. All right. Well, thank all of you for coming here live. If you're here live, if you're watching the replay, thanks for coming to the replay, and hashtag replay so I can come and say hello to you. And you can still drink your wine when you're watching the replay, or have your coffee in the morning when you're watching it. And that is all. I want to remind everybody that if you are struggling with systems, with accomplishing something, and specifically with work, I have a digital disconnect session that is free that I'm offering. It's 30 minutes free, where we try to figure out where your systems are being disconnected, where there are things that you are losing time, where your productivity is tanking, where you could improve things, and try to find out what you can do to overcome that. Okay. So I will put the link for that in the comments. It is the digital disconnect session, and you can DM me, you can post in the group, and I will also have the link. So I will put that in there. And that is it for tonight. I will be back next week, same time, same place, 8 p.m. in the organizing lounge. Tell everybody about it. Tell everybody to come with their beverage of choice and learn about organizing. Can't remember what the topic is about next week, but it's great. So I will see you then. And until then, I will see you around in the group. All right. All righty. See you later. Bye.